This video will show how to adjust the encoder read head spacing on an A200 mount. Here we're looking at the side of the RA gear housing, and to prepare for this video I've removed the 2 set screws that plug these 2 holes, as well as the 4 screws that hold this back panel in place. The spacing between the encoder read head and the encoder surface is critical, and if the read head is too close or too far, the encoder won't get a good signal and won't report an accurate position back to the computer. We can look down the rightmost hole and we see on this mount that the status light is red, which indicates that the read head is not getting a good reading. We need to push or pull the encoder read head towards or away from the encoder disc in order to correct this. To do that, we take a 3/4 inch screw with 1024 threads, and we can pass that through the leftmost hole here until we make contact with the plate that the encoder read head is mounted to. We can then turn the screw to thread into a hole on that plate, and at this length, 3/4 inch on this mount, I can turn about half a turn, maybe 3/4 of a turn before I'm fully engaged. If you have a longer screw, you'll be able to turn that much more, but right now I'm backed against the outer surface of this gear housing. We're going to use this screw as a lead screw, where when we turn it clockwise, we're going to pull the encoder read head mounting plate towards us, and when we push and turn it counterclockwise, we're going to push the plate away from us and towards the encoder. We can use that to make very accurate adjustments to the spacing between the encoder and the read head. The next step is to loosen these 2 screws which hold the encoder mounting plate in place. Now you want to be careful not to touch these 2 other screws which hold the home switch in place. Only adjust these 2 larger screws. We can loosen these by turning about 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn. And then we can take a hex key and we can push in towards the mount and start turning clockwise or counterclockwise until we see the light turn green. In this case, it looks like the encoder was a little too far away from the encoder surface, and so if we turn counterclockwise and push in, we're pushing the encoder towards the surface, and it turns green. Now if we go too far, it's going to turn red again. Now in this case, I can turn about 1/4 of a turn to go from red to green back to red. You want to do this several times, going back and forth to establish where the green region is, and then you want to try to put the encoder right in the middle of that region so that you have maximum tolerance on each side. Once you get a green signal, you want to tighten those 2 screws that hold the plate in place, and then you want to move the axis by hand throughout its entire range of motion and check for a green light all the way through. If you see a red region, for example, if it was turning red right about here, we would go back and do this again, try to make the light turn green with the telescope in this orientation, and then again go through the full range of motion. You want to find a distance that results in a green reading throughout the entire range of motion. Once that's complete, put the 2 set screws back in place, put the back panel back, and you should be good to go.